Come on, play.
Poly.
It's Latin for many.
Tick.
Now suck your blood. Now suck
Politics.
your blood.
Politics.
Okay, we got a clip here. So, Matt Gaetz just keeps popping up. And let's see what he's got to say now.
So this is an exchange that Matt Gaetz had with Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin, the woke. Yeah. The woke secretary. And it's 3 minutes long. We can stop it at any point, comment on it, but here we go.
Mr. Secretary, I've shared with you the context. The context wasn't better understand socialism so we can defeat it. The context wasn't learn about it so that we can offer countermeasures. The concept was that it's time for socialism. And the reason I know that's the context is because the lecture was pulled from a book written by Thomas Piketty entitled Time for Socialism. And I just can't help but notice.
And so your question was whether or not
I control the time.
Your question
you guys have been blowing a lot of calls lately on matters of strategy, Mr. Secretary. You guys told us that Russia couldn't lose. You told us that the Taliban couldn't immediately win. And so I guess I'm wondering, what in the $773 billion that you're requesting today is going to help you make assessments that are accurate in the face of so many blown calls?
Awkward.
You've seen what's in our budget. You've seen how the budget matches the strategy. And so I'll let that speak for itself.
Well, I mean, I've also seen that we're behind, Mr. Secretary. We're behind in hypersonics. We failed to deter Russia. Last year,
so what do you mean we're behind in hypersonics? How do you?
Okay, who's ahead in hypersonics?
How do you make that assessment?
I don't know. I make that assessment because China is fielding hypersonic weapon systems, and we are still developing them. I make that assessment because Russia actually used one. By the way, your own people brief us that we are behind and that China is winning. Are you aware of the briefings we get on hypersonics?
I am certainly aware of briefings that we provide to Congress.
But it's not just the hypersonic. It's all over the world. It's in Taiwan, where China last year flew more sorties than ever before. It's North Korea on pace to shatter prior records, the number of missiles that they are testing. And so while everyone else in the world seems to be developing capabilities and being more strategic, we got time to embrace critical race theory at West Point, to embrace socialism at the National Defense University, to do mandatory pronoun training. Do you assess?
Again, this is the most capable, the most combat-credible force in the world. It has been, and it will be so going forward.
Not if we continue down this path.
To do that.
Not if we embrace socialism.
The fact that you're embarrassed by your country.
Oh no! I'm embarrassed by your leadership. I am not embarrassed for my country. I wish we were not losing to China.
I wish we were.
You know what? That is so disgraceful that you would sit here and conflate your failures with the failures of the uniformed service members. You guys said that Russia would overrun Ukraine in 36 days. You said that the Taliban would be kept at bay for months. You totally blew those calls. And maybe we would be better at them if the National Defense University actually worked a little more on strategy and a little less on wokeism.
Has it occurred to you that Russia has not overrun Ukraine because of what we've done and our allies have done?
But that was baked into your flawed assessment. That was baked into your flawed assessment. And so, yeah, I saw that the Obama administration tried to destroy our military by starving it of resources, and it seems the Biden administration is trying to destroy our military by force-feeding it wokeism. I yield back.
Whoa.
Whoa, bro.
Whoa, go to jail, pedo.
Yeah, I was going to say, he's the most unlikable person and probable criminal and worst of the types of people that can exist. But he sure is giving it to the U.S. military, huh?
Yeah, bringing up some solid points of argument.
Yeah.
Although, I don't know. I don't know about the hypersonic thing. I know that Boeing, or was it Boeing or maybe Lockheed Martin, they're developing.
Well, I did have this.
Okay.
On April 5th, CNN, U.S. tested hypersonic missile in mid-March, but kept it quiet to avoid escalating tensions with Russia. Mm-hmm. The U.S. successfully tested a hypersonic missile in mid-March, but kept it quiet for 2 weeks to avoid escalating tensions with Russia as President Joe Biden was about to travel to Europe, according to a defense official familiar with the matter. So allegedly, we have tested a hypersonic missile. It's one of our first tests, like successful tests, which is significantly behind at least Russia's hypersonic missile program.
Matt Gaetz brought up China, though, just to clarify.
Yeah, I don't know much about their hypersonic program, but he also said Russia.
Yeah, he did say Russia. Yeah.
And it was a big deal. It was a big part of the news cycle. I think it was about 2 weeks ago, maybe a week ago, that Russia allegedly used a hypersonic missile to blow up something in Ukraine. So a lot of talk about these hypersonic missiles. And, I think it's kind of funny that they did do the test, but kept it quiet because enraging or intimidating or escalating tensions with Russia right as President Joe Biden was about to travel to, I think he was in Poland, the big issue where he was in Poland was that it was within striking distance of hypersonic missiles from Russia. They wouldn't even have to, take a foot off of Russian soil to have hypersonic missiled the president. Part of me thinks that they did it and kept it quiet just so they could reveal it whenever they want, sort of, I don't know, strategically. Whether it actually happened or not, we'll never know. But this hypersonic missile thing is getting a lot of attention.
Yeah. I have an Al Jazeera article from March 21st that says hypersonic missiles, why is Russia using them in Ukraine? Mm-hmm. And it says in here that they, using cutting-edge technologies, these new weapons are billed as unstoppable. Now, Russia has said it launched its Kinzhal Dagger hypersonic missile at, among other targets, a weapons depot in western Ukraine, making it the first country to ever test this type of missile in combat.
Right.
So, yeah, it looks like they're obviously deploying it at a much faster rate for sure. I don't know. Technology-wise, I have no clue. Can't speak to it. But
the CNN article goes in, it mentions what you just mentioned, and then it says the U.S. test was of a more sophisticated and difficult air-breathing scramjet engine.
Oh,
yes.
Sounds sexy.
The Hawk, the HAWC missile, also has no warhead, instead relying on its kinetic energy to destroy the target. So it's kind of like a Rod of God situation.
Yeah.
Which, if you don't know, Rod of God is traditionally, isn't it a satellite-based weapon?
Kind of. It's just space-based. Any kind of space.
Altitude.
Yeah.
It's a high-altitude weapon where they drop a humongous rod.
It's a tungsten rod.
Yeah. Which picks up lots of energy and turns into an incendiary thing once it hits, and it can puncture some crazy distance underneath the ground. They use it for bunker busting and things like that. So allegedly, our hypersonic missile, which goes faster than the speed of sound, if anybody needs that review,
hypersonic is technically, I guess, 5 times the speed of sound. Hypersonic missile.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really, anything can be, it can be,
fast.
Superman can be,
but
hypersonic missile.
At those speeds, you really don't even need, a Rod of God, a tungsten rod would really do some damage at that speed.
Yeah.
Because it heats up. The faster a Rod of God falls, usually it's falling from high altitude, but the faster it moves, because of the molecular structure of tungsten, it can get like red, glowing, white, hot, gnarly, beam of destruction just because of the friction created by the air moving past us so quickly. And it's really crazy technology.
Yeah. Anybody who wants to study or look into that, it's Project Thor was the name of the project.
Right.
And the tungsten rods, in theory, I don't know if they were able to completely achieve this. I'll have to read up on it, but basically they got to Mach 8.8.
That's much Mach, man.
That's super Mach. It's really fast. 9,800 feet per second.
Yeah.
That's
9,800. That's almost 2 miles per second.
That's what it says.
Holy moly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the speed upon impact if it fell from orbit.
Got it. Yeah. Yeah. So this hypersonic missile thing is really getting a lot of attention. And I don't know. Again, I'm really suspicious when they start when everybody at once
starts talking about it.
You know, part of it is they put it in the minds. It's like a prologue. They start putting it in the minds of the public, so nobody's taken by surprise when something happens. So, I mean, I guess that's kind of the concept of news, but there you go.
And since Russia seems to have deployed it, you know, in war, it's also another. It can be another kind of a nuclear weapon type of thing, right? Where you can use it as some kind of leverage, in negotiations or discussions or whatever it may be. For, in this case, a political sort of budgetary, hearing or whatever. So.
And one of the things we haven't really talked about it a whole lot, and we don't need to do it too much more here. But the big danger of hypersonics is they can travel across the world. Like you can pretty much hit anything from anywhere. Yeah. But you can't defend against them. There's no defense. There's no known way.
There's no Iron Dome.
It's too fast, man. They're too fast.
There's no hypersonic.
They'll dodge and weave like a sneaky sportsman. And so that's why I think you're right. In the political context, where we don't want to play with the idea of the nuclear option, the idea that, we could sneak this little thing right on over there, and there's nothing you can do about it, is enough of a talking point, I think, that you at least have something scary to talk about without crossing the line into the nuclear option. Right.
Yeah. And, it's kind of funny because if you sit back, think logically, I know the argument Matt Gaetz is kind of trying to make of like, hey, are we going to really allocate this money to the right place or whatever? But if they really are, if the U.S. is truly behind on hypersonic missiles, then wouldn't that be an argument for the money to go to the defense sector to try to develop that? I guess that's why the argument.
Well, that's why it feels more political than actually. I don't think Matt Gaetz actually cares about the military budget. I'm sure he would love to give more.
It's a lot of money, though. What is it, $773 billion or something? That's a good chunk of change.
I think it's $7.2 billion for the FY23 defense budget.
Oh, $7.2 billion. Okay.
Yeah, fiscal year 23.
I was going to say it was $770 billion.
Woo. But I think that's just the increase, though.
Oh, okay.
Those are and that's just the budget for hypersonic missiles, basically long range fires, they call it. So it's $7.2 billion increase for long range fires, including hypersonic missiles, which again is kind of nothing compared to the $400 billion that was accidentally sent to criminals in COVID relief, or just disappeared out the back door. That's why I don't think it's not really about the money for Matt. I think there's something political going on here. Yeah. I'm not quite sure what it is, but he's making a show of it. That's for sure.